Hi guys, and welcome to another video lesson. Today we're going to be taking a look at the hi-hat subdivision 1 and A. So we've looked at changing the hi-hat pattern before. We looked at the subdivision 1E and. Well, today we're going to be looking at 1 and A. Now they're often confused, those two subdivisions. They do look similar. 1E and has two semiquavers at the beginning followed by a quaver. I prefer to say two semiquavers at the front and a quaver at the back. And 1 and A is the other way round. It has a quaver at the front and the two semiquavers at the back. So we'll kick off by just playing 1 and A on the hi-hat over and over. So a bar's worth of 1 and A round and round at 70 beats per minute. As we've talked about before when we looked at 1E and, we want to keep the stick nice and loose. We want the bounce to do the majority of the work. 3 and A, 4 and A. Be careful not to start that pattern in the wrong place. It's not. We're starting with one single note. 1 and A, 2 and A, 3 and A, 4 and A. 70 beats per minute, round and round. Here we go. Okay, so let's add the bass drum and the snare drum in. Bass on 1 and 3, snare on 2 and 4, and we'll complete the groove. The bass and snare drum land on the single hi-hat. What I mean by that is we've got a quaver followed by two semiquavers, so a hi-hat on its own followed by two hi-hats right next to each other. The bass and the snare drum are on that first hi-hat, so you've got a little bit of a gap there, a little bit of time before you need to put those two tricky semiquavers in. Here it comes at 70 beats per minute. Again, if you need to slow any of these exercises down and work up to 70, that's fine. You know the drill by now. Pause the video, work on it by yourself, build up the tempo, then come back and join me when you're ready. Just as we did with the 1E and subdivision last time, we're going to add an extra bass drum and we're going to put it on the 3 and. I'll play the whole groove for you now at 70 beats per minute so you can hear what we're aiming for, and then we'll break that second half down. Okay, so let's break that down. Let's look at the tricky second half. We've got 3 and A, 4 and A. So a bass drum with the hi-hat on 3, then another one on the and then another hi-hat straight after that on the A. You may just want to look at beat 3 on its own here. Just break that beat down. 3 and A. That's fine. Work on that and then put the other bits of the bar back together. I've talked in the past about counting using hands and feet or limbs. So for me as a right-hander, that would be both right. Left is both left. That's fine. If counting in limbs and hands and feet works for you, great. If it doesn't, if beats of the bar is your preferred option, that's also fine. When it comes to counting, it's there to help us get this right. So whichever version of the count works best for you is the right version. So here we go, 70 beats per minute. I'll just play beats 3 and 4, rest beats 1 and 2 every time, and loop the bar round and round. Here we go. Okay, so let's move this over to the ride cymbal. And what we're going to do is we're going to incorporate the ride bell. So I'm going to play the 1 shoulder of the stick on the bell of the ride cymbal, 1, and then the and tip of the stick on the bow of the ride cymbal. So I've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so I'm moving in and out, if you like, or out and in, I suppose would be a more accurate way of saying that, on the ride cymbal. We're going to keep the bass on 1 and 3 and the snare on 2 and 4. No extra bass drums or snare drums this time, just to help us get to grips with this new ride cymbal pattern. Here we go. Okay, so now I'm going to add that extra bass drum in again on 3 and. I'm not going to break it down, I'm going to play the whole bar at 70 beats per minute. It's the same movement as it was over here on the hi-hat, both right, or 3 and The only difference is that first note is on the bell of the ride cymbal. If you need to pause the video here and just work on 3 and that's absolutely fine. Come back and join me when you're ready. 70 beats per minute, here we go. So there you go, a quick look at the subdivision 1 and I should have really called it cymbal subdivision, shouldn't I? Because we started on the hi-hat and then moved over to the ride. That's my mistake. A cymbal subdivision 1 and We've looked at one bass drum variation. You must know what's coming next. Pause the video and see how many different variations you can add to that 1 and subdivision on either cymbal, doesn't matter which one. Bass drum variations, snare drum variations, both. You know plenty of groove variations using bass and snare drum. Apply them to this new 1-beat subdivision and see what you can come up with. If you want a serious challenge, what happens if you try putting a bass or a snare drum on a syncopated note? So a snare drum on 3E, for example, or 2 A. Give that a whirl, see what happens. So that's it for today's lesson on cymbal subdivisions. There you go, I corrected it that time. Hope you enjoyed that. If you've got any questions, please feel free to get in touch. If you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment down below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Stay safe, take care, and enjoy your drumming, guys.